What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Jared here with Gunpla University. And if this is your first time here and you're a fan of Gundam model kits or anime related figures, be sure to like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so you stay up to date with all of our newest videos. So what's happening, guys? Welcome back. And I gotta apologize to you right off the bat because this is a long overdue video, but I promise you guys, we've been working really hard to make sure that our content, our quality continues to rise, as well as our Gunpla building skills. And also we've just been like super busy. And this is a video that I meant to like put out a little while ago. And you know, it's also been a while since I've actually recorded a voiceover. So yes, this video I am doing in voiceover. But here we go. We're checking out my RX-78-2 perfect grade build. And this is the perfect grade Granddaddy Gundam, of course. This is actually my very first perfect grade. So let's go ahead and jump into things. So what kind of happened with this perfect grade? At the time that I kind of put this on my list as the next kit that I wanted to go ahead and start to work on, around that same time, we were told that there was a contest going on at the local hobby town that's here, you know, around where we live. Now, I've been building since, you know, I was in, middle school, back from watching Gundam Wing, but I have never, ever tried to compete with any of the kits that I've ever done. So I thought it would be a really cool idea to go ahead and try to enter something into this competition and just see if I could luck up and win anything. So since the perfect grade was the next kit on my list, I just kind of decided, okay, let's go ahead and use this perfect grade in that competition. Now, I got to rewind for a second. If you guys remember seeing the gashapon video for the Gundam heads, right? So at this point, I started thinking about, okay, what can I do to, you know, make an awesome perfect grade as my first perfect grade, but also make it awesome for competition so that, you know, I can kind of give myself an edge when I go up against these other kits. But I figured, you know, wouldn't it be a cool idea to have a matching gashapon head right next to this perfect grade that I wanted to build. And also the gashapon heads are like super large, so it kind of fit with the size and the scale of the perfect grade. I also knew that I wanted to go ahead and upgrade the LEDs in the kit. The perfect grades do come with an LED for the head, but I had heard that, you know, some of these perfect grades LED is kind of old. It's been in there for a while, and sometimes the LED doesn't even work by the time that you actually get around to installing it. So I figured, why not go ahead and kind of stretch my legs on the whole LED realm and install new LEDs in this suit, as well as run some extra LEDs in some different places. So I decided to go with LEDs as well. And lastly, I wanted to have an item to kind of push the kit over the edge a little bit, but also I was kind of thinking to myself, you know, where am I going to hide this battery pack for this extra LEDs that I want to install? And that's when I thought about the gashapon head. So I figured, you know, it'd be really cool to go ahead and paint up one of these little guys to match the RX-78, but also use the extra space that's inside of those heads to house my batteries and power supply for the LEDs that are going in the main suit. So with that, it was pretty much time to go ahead and break into everything and start getting everything prepped. So I went ahead and I started with the gashapon head. And I'm gonna tell you guys, these things are actually put together really, really tightly. It was actually kind of a pain for me to try to pull this head apart, but I needed to pull it apart in order for me to, one, make sure that I could get it painted up properly. And I also needed to modify a couple places in order to make sure that I could add LEDs, because I figured, you know, I'm already going through the hassle of adding LEDs to the main suit. I'm already gonna have a power supply right here inside the body of this head. I should also go ahead and try to put LEDs in this head as well. I will say one thing that really did help was having a mechanical clear version of the gashapon head, because that helped me to be able to kind of look inside and see what was what. So I started off this whole project by trying to disassemble this head. So those of you who are looking to kind of break into these heads and tear them apart, I'll tell you that it is possible, but take your time. You do kind of have to just kind of work your way around a couple parts. I did have to do a little bit of cutting, but for me, it wasn't a big deal because I needed to open this up anyways in order to make room for the LED pack. So once I was able to get that head torn apart, one thing I did have to do was kind of remove some of this plastic from behind the top camera on top. There is a clear piece there. However, it's covered by plastic in the back of it. So it's just kind of solid. And I knew I wanted that to be able to glow. So I had to figure out a way to kind of chisel that out without damaging the clear piece. But also, remove some of that plastic back there so I could actually put an LED there so that it could shine through. So from there, I kind of just worked my way through slowly but surely, trying to figure out how to split the rest of the head in half. And as you can see, there are a couple points here where I did have to get a little rough with it, but just be persistent. You can get it to come apart. If I recall correctly, there are 1 or 2 beams through the center that I did have to cut, and I removed those completely in order for you to be able to separate the 2 halves of the head. Once the 2 halves of the head were pretty much pulled apart, I could just put those to the side and get those ready for paint and move on to the actual kit itself. So jumping into the main kit here, and the one thing that I'll tell you that I take away from this entire experience, and mind you, this is my first perfect grade. Man, perfect grade's got a lot of parts. There's an incredible amount of pieces that went into this kit. And even though, I haven't really painted that many kits yet, I kind of felt like when I was going into this that I had enough experience in painting that I kind of felt like I knew how long it would take me to do this kit. And it probably took me double that amount of time. There's just so many pieces and so many things to go over. The part count is incredible. So I definitely underestimated this kit, and I probably would have started this kit much earlier had I known that it was going to take me as long to build it. But hey, lesson learned. So I went about building this kit pretty much like how I build any other kits. The only difference here was that since I knew that I wanted to do LEDs in this kit and I wanted to do custom LEDs, I thought it would be smart of me to go ahead and, as I, kind of built this up for the first time, to go ahead and also use that same time to drill whatever holes or passages I would need in order to make these custom LEDs fit in later. And I gotta tell you, that actually worked out very well. I was very pleased with that. It did definitely help later on down the line after the kit was painted for me to much more easily install the LEDs that I had routed much earlier in the process. And like I mentioned before, you don't necessarily have to do this. It does come with an LED specifically just for the eyes, and I think maybe the front camera. But like I said, people have said before that, sometimes these don't work. I will say that mine actually did still function, but I'm still glad that I went ahead and changed it because I think it was like a green color, and I really wanted to go for a more like anime accurate type deal. So the LEDs that I ended up putting inside of here are actually more of an orange or a yellow, just like how his eyes are in the anime. So yeah, back on the build, pretty standard build compared to, most of your, I'd say maybe master grades, just kind of on steroids kind of. I will say, during this time, I did go ahead and take the time to go ahead and, like I said, drill out the thrusters of the kit, because I knew I definitely wanted to put some LEDs back there, as well as try to drill out some of like the exit points so I could try to figure out where I was going to route these wires. But if you haven't built a perfect grade before, I can't stress enough, like, these just have a lot of parts. There's a lot of parts in this thing. And this was just like the granddaddy Gundam. I can only imagine what some of these other kits, like how many parts are in there. Now, I will say, one of the things that really confused me pretty much all the way up until it was time for me to actually put this kit together, like the final assembly, were these screws. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but Bandai gives you these 3 baggies of different screws. There's a yellow bag, a green bag, and a red bag. And the kit does an absolutely horrible job trying to explain to you which set of screws go where. So during the initial assembly, I didn't even bother to put these in. Not that even if I knew where they went, I probably still wouldn't have put them in just because I didn't want to make things too tight. But still, going through the booklet, it was impossible. I had no idea where these screws went. So even when it came time to do the final assembly, I think by then I had a couple of followers kind of help me out and, show me the way as far as what they thought these screws went. So shout out to you guys for that. And that helped with the majority of the screws, but I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Some of these screws I just ended up tossing. I mean, yeah, that part was kind of impossible. Hopefully Bandai's gotten better at this now. I'm not sure. But as I go forward in the next perfect grade that I do, if there's any screws in there, I'll definitely be looking out for that. So also, since building this kit, one of my buddies on Instagram, Big Daddy Gundam, shout out to him, actually put me on to the, I guess, the new version of the Google Translate app. And now the app is like super awesome. I don't know, maybe it's been like this for a while and I just haven't been using it. But now, you know, he put me on to that, and this thing does actually an amazing job of like translating text for you. So from now on, I mean, I'll definitely be using that as I go through and build some of these kits. I've kind of gotten accustomed just to like looking at the pictures, but yeah, anytime that, you know, I'm trying to build one of these kits and I need that like extra hint as far as like what I'm supposed to do, definitely pull out that Google Translate app and put it on the picture mode. And man, that thing does an amazing job of translating it for you. So, all right, so here he is, guys, completely snapped together. Just snap fit, nothing crazy done to him. I haven't even panel lined him at this point. But I just wanted to snap them together first just so I can kind of get an idea of what I'm working with here. And it's really, I know it's kind of hard to tell just from looking at him this way, how tall this guy is. So that's why I went ahead and dropped this master grade Shin Matsunaga Zaku that Mina did here a little while ago, just so you could kind of get an idea of how tall this guy is next to a standard UC master grade kit. So now for the fun part. So the way I chose to go about this was by separating all of the pieces of the perfect grade into like main components. So, you know, your head, your arms, well, in this case, left arm, right arm, torso, left leg, right leg, the whole deal. Everybody got their own separate section. So I broke apart all of these different components into their own baggie and then decided to paint out each larger component as a set. So build the entire left arm, or go through and paint and build the entire left arm before I move on to the right arm, and so forth all the way through the kit. And doing it that way I think worked out pretty good for me. One thing I made sure to do was like I would do both the right arm and right leg at the same time, but I would not do the left and right arm at the same time, just because there's too many pieces that are similar, or actually that are the same. So that way, by doing the right leg and the right arm at the same time, you know, that way I don't run the risk of accidentally mixing up some parts, even though I was still being very careful to keep everything as separate as possible. By the time you get this entire kit like broken down onto alligator clips, it's a lot of parts that you're looking at. And, you know, if you don't have everything kind of separated properly into their particular areas, it can be very intimidating. And I can see how it might be easy to get these parts mixed up. So that's probably definitely the way I would do it probably going forward too, is, you know, if I'm doing arms, I'll do an arm and a leg at the same time, but not both arms at the same time and not both legs at the same time. As far as paints used here, I pretty much stuck with my standard paints that I use, mostly Mr. Hobby colors. Everything, of course, started off with a primer. In this case, for this suit, I decided to go with the 1500 Mr. Surfacer primer, just to make sure everything had a very soft, very smooth finish. So everything primed on this kit was done with the Mr. Surfacer 1500. And then all of my colors, except for the one or two metallics that I used, are actually Mr. Hobby's colors. So just your basic blue, black, white, red. Yeah, I mean, Gramps is a pretty easy Gundam to kind of color. So just his standard colors plus white and black. Now for the metallics, I did use Mr. Colors Super Metallic, Super Titanium. And this was actually my first time messing with this paint. It actually came out really well. I was really impressed with it. I've really been wanting to try Gaia Notes Star Bright Iron, but at the time that I started this kit, I didn't have any. I have picked up some of that paint since then, so I hope to use that on a future kit. But from using this Mr. Hobby's Super Metallic, this actually came out really good. I was very happy with it. And that was used for pretty much the entire inner frame and any place that I needed to have like some silver. Now, in addition to that, I also used Alkalad's Copper, and I only used this sparingly in a couple of places, like the inner wrist joints. really for some of the like more hidden detail, but you know, that detail that you know is there. Painting this kit definitely took some time, just because of the sheer scope of what all needed to be painted. And as you can imagine, these pieces are much bigger than that of, you know, some of your smaller grades. But I was super happy to have my new secondary airbrush, which is a Mr. Hobby PS290. And this thing is a beast. It's perfect for, you know, primering and painting large surfaces of, you know, large kits. I'm definitely going to use this on like the Dendrobium, probably all my perfect grades. I don't know if I ever get $600 to get a Neo Zeong. Like, this thing just throws a lot of paint. And it definitely made the process a little bit easier because, you know, I could get a lot more stuff done much more quickly with this brush. So after completing the painting process on all of the parts, I did go through and do just a small enamel wash on all of the parts just to add that extra amount of detail. And I think that came out really great looking too. And a lot of this can be hidden, or most of it is hidden actually. But, you know, if you were to pull back some of these panels on this kit, you can see some of that artwork and some of that effort that I put in there to really kind of make it stand out. Following that, one of my favorite parts of doing any build is applying decals. I don't know why, but I really love getting to the part where it's time for me to lay down the water slides. And like with the majority of the kits I do, I was able to get a water slide sheet from Delphi Decal, and these things are absolutely amazing. They lay down absolutely awesome. They're so flat, like you can't even tell that they're there sometimes. Like, you can't see the edges at all, and they really just lay down beautifully. And they came out so well on this kit that I even actually put the Delphi Decal logo kind of hidden on the ankle of this kit, just because the decals on this kit just came out looking so amazing. And to wrap up all of the, you know, extra detailing work, the enamel washing and the decals, of course you got to go back and hit it with another layer of the gloss clear coat. And for the clear coat, I use Alkalad's gloss clear coat. This is the standard clear coat, what I use the majority of the time for all my kits. And once that had set up pretty good, I went back over top of that gloss clear coat with the Alkalad flat clear coat. The only thing about that flat clear coat from Alkalad, I do recommend that you give that stuff like 48 hours to dry. Sometimes after like 24 hours, it may like feel dry to the touch, but if you just barely bump that thing up to something, you may scratch off that clear coat. So definitely when you're using that, I'd recommend you give that 48 hours to dry before you really start to try to bump it around and touch it up against other parts. But with that completed, it was time to put the kit together and do the entire final assembly. And I'll tell you guys, this came like right down to the wire. Like, the competition was like on a Saturday, and I think I finished this like middle of the night or like early Saturday morning. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning of the competition that I actually finished this guy. So yeah, it really came right down to the wire for me. It was definitely hard to get this thing finished in time. But here it is as the finished product. Let me know what you guys think about this kit and the kind of like setup that I did. I know it's not like a full diorama or anything, but just kind of give me your thoughts on how you guys think I did. This now makes the third kit that I've painted. And I think I do definitely feel like every time I paint a kit, I'm definitely getting a little bit better. But, you know, I feel like there's still a long way to go. So I'm going to definitely keep pushing the envelope, trying new techniques. And, you know, I definitely want to get to the point where I feel like the paint is perfect. And I'm definitely not there on the screen. Hopefully it looks good for you all. But there are still places, you know, that I know of that, you know, if you look really close, it's very rough, or it's not exactly how I would want it, or, you know, just these small things. But these are things that I want to work out. I definitely want to make my painting, I definitely want my painting to be top notch. So it's definitely something I'm really going to be working hard on. And so for the results of how Gramps did at the competition, actually he did really well. He did much better than I thought he would. He actually walked away with first place in paint. And I think that's a great accomplishment, considering that there were some really awesome kits that were there, not just in the Gundam category, but in all the categories. There was like some resin kits there. They had Star Wars. You had your like traditional modeling kits there. And when I say traditional, I mean like tanks and planes and whatnot by some really talented artists. So I was, really humbled to get the best paint for Gramps at this competition. But also another cool thing was just kind of on a whim, I decided to take the Vidar. And I had no intention of taking him, but just on the way out of the house, I was just kind of like, screw it, let's go ahead and take the Vidar too, just to have something else to put up on the table. Not thinking that, he would win anything, but the Vidar actually walked away with first place in the Gundam category. So, it actually ended up being a really good day for me. I walked out of there with 2 medals. I was the only one to walk out with 2 medals. So I was definitely really humbled by that. And yeah, I was super proud of it. So with that, that just gives me more motivation to, push harder in the next kit and, keep pushing the envelope. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification so you guys don't miss out on anything. Oh, real quick, before I forget, I got to give a huge shout out to our very first official Patreon, the Staffer. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate you supporting us and, just having our back. We can't thank you enough. So shout out to you. Your name is the first name to grace our credits. So yeah, man, we definitely can't thank you enough. But yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed. Can't wait to get on to the next build. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace. It's gonna make a change, you have to let me know. Turn around, start to talk to you. It's all you need to do.